in history, and they're having to make that calculation.
Well, George Conway was on Preet Bharara's podcast yesterday, and he was lamenting how Republicans can't just do the right thing. He was asking, why can't they just do the right thing? Phil, is the president worried that Republicans at some point might break and might say, hey, there's strength in numbers here, and if we all come out and say we don't like this, or if the numbers might not be on his side any longer? We've been all watching those impeachment polls, and even Republicans, the Republican support for an impeachment inquiry is ticking up. The public support across the board for an impeachment inquiry is over 50%. Is the president trying to do anything to help keep his Republicans in line?
Yeah, it's a good point, Katie. It's absolutely a top concern for the president and the team around him at the White House, and they're doing a few things to try to prevent that from happening. One, Mick Mulvaney, the acting chief of staff, is organizing something of a charm offensive. There are plans over the next few weeks to start, basically wining and dining some of these Republican lawmakers, inviting them to dinners at the White House, maybe even trips to Camp David to try to earn their loyalty and keep them close into the fold. And two, the president himself is sending a warning with his attacks on Mitt Romney. He went after Romney very hard over the weekend in a series of tweets, calling him a pompous senator and using a word we would never use on this air to describe Mitt Romney. And that was a warning shot at all the other senators to let them know that if they were to say what Mitt Romney said, they're going to face a similar blowback from the president.
So much for co-equal branches of government. Phil Rucker, Matt Gorman, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thanks, Katie.
And Ukraine has a long history of corruption, and though the Pentagon and Congress had certified Ukraine's efforts to improve since the election of President Zelensky, watchdog Transparency International, still ranks the country 120th out of 180 countries in their Corruption Perceptions Index. President Trump claims that in that call with Zelensky that he was trying to help stop corruption, root it out. But of all the instances of corruption he could have focused on, why was Donald Trump intent on pursuing two discredited cases that he personally would benefit from? Joining me, American University associate. Are the two most egregious instances of corruption in Ukraine this discredited claim about Joe Biden and his son, or the discredited claim about a CrowdStrike server, the DNC server in Ukraine?
Clearly not. I mean, this is a country where, the people who are truly corrupt are billionaires siphoning large sums of money out of the Ukrainian budget. And in Ukraine, this really comes from the top down, from the president on down. And so, if you want to look for the top criminals on some level in the Ukrainian system, it's really the upper echelons of that government, not a side player like Hunter Biden, who is simply sitting on the board of a Ukrainian company.
So if Donald Trump wanted to root out corruption in Ukraine, what would he have been saying to President Zelensky?
He could say to him, look, you had some significant disclosures come to light during the election campaign about President Poroshenko essentially giving, having his close friend who has a summer house in the south of Spain, giving him the right to sell weapons to the Ukrainian Defense Department at a very highly marked up rate. Why don't you focus on some of those issues, the things that really have hurt Ukraine's security and are deep corruption issues that society cares about in Ukraine?
The Republicans are trying to take issue with what Vice President Biden did in pushing for the firing of Viktor Shokin, that prosecutor in Ukraine, back when he was still Vice President of the United States. They're trying to say that that's the same thing, that's corrupt. And look at Joe Biden, look at Hunter Biden. Can you tell us fact from fiction here?
So Shokin was a corrupt prosecutor, as have been all of Ukraine's prosecutor generals. They essentially don't prosecute the high-level corruption cases because they're there to essentially protect Ukraine's elite, particularly the president. And so when we were pushing, we, the U.S. government, were pushing to have Shokin fired, it was an effort to get some of these corruption cases to move forward, including the one into Burisma. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because the person that Poroshenko replaced him with was the head of Poroshenko's political party in parliament, a man named Yuri Lutsenko, who is just as corrupt as Shokin.
And then just finally, if the president was trying to root out corruption, is it normal for him to send his personal attorney to try and figure out how to do it?
It would be normal in Ukrainian circles because it's a shadowy thing to do that's not part of official policy. But obviously, from an American standpoint, that's completely unacceptable.
Keith Darden. Keith, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
And Democrats want Texas. Wendy Davis has tried to turn it blue, and she's trying to do so again. She's going to join me in just a moment. But first, it is wildfire season in California. Why residents there are angry at the power company's attempt to stop those fires from starting.
Caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
The only thing better than horsepower is more horsepower. If we were for everyone, we'd be for no one.
With Dodge Power Dollars, more power means more cash allowance. Purchase now and get $10 per horsepower. That's $7,970 on the SRT Challenger Hellcat Redeye.
It's Blue Diamond, everyone's favorite fry pan. The only nonstick fry pan infused with millions of diamonds. So nonstick it's like cooking on air. Absolutely nothing sticks to Blue Diamond. It's the strongest pan you'll ever own. Its finish lasts 10 times longer. Blue Diamond is dishwasher safe and toxin free.
This is the strongest pan I've ever owned.
Blue Diamond lets me go from the stovetop to the oven, and it's even broiler safe.
I love to cook all my family recipes with Blue Diamond.
Get Blue Diamond, everyone's favorite nonstick pan, available at these fine stores.
People come to beaches, Turks and Caicos for different reasons. Some come for the best beach in the world. Some for the incredible water park. For others, it's adventure. And since everything's included, you can do it all. But no matter why they come, they all leave with memories to last a lifetime. The 1-800-BEACHES.
Hey! This is new Senecot Kiwi Balance. It has a clinically proven ingredient to help support regularity. Who knew that a dietary supplement with a natural enzyme and prebiotics can help support regularity? Go Kiwi Balance!
New Senecot Kiwi Balance. Celebrate regular.
You should be mad that this is your daily commute. You should be mad at people who forget they're in public. And you should be mad at simple things that are unnecessarily complicated. But you're not mad, because you're trading with E-Trade, which isn't complicated. Their app makes trading quick and simple, so you can strike when the time is right. Don't get mad. Get E-Trade and start trading today.
We're looking at upwards of $20,000 in terms of loss. Anything perishable?
I can't help but think maybe it's an overreaction and maybe a little payback for people criticizing PG&E for every fire that starts.
Hundreds of thousands of Californians are without power for a third day after the state's largest provider shut it off. Pacific Gas and Electric, which began rolling blackouts Wednesday, announced that they could continue into the weekend and impact over 2 million people. Those people will not get reimbursed for spoiled food, medicine, housing, or lost business. They're turning the power off because it is wildfire season in California.